Whenever Marco Rubio speaks, all I hear is, "Wah, I'm here. Hey, I'm here."
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Clair.
And welcome back, guys, to the Lions of Liberty podcast. This is, oh my God, it's the 176th episode of this program. The numbers keep getting higher. It's funny how that works. Just like these GOP debates keep getting longer, and we have yet another GOP debate recap for you here tonight. And but first, as many people have expressed interest in helping us grow financially and contributing, we don't have a way to contribute directly yet. We are working on that. But if you'd like to help us in a very easy way and do all your Amazon shopping through our Amazon link, you can find that at lionsofliberty.com/Amazon. And we get a little kickback for all your orders at no extra cost to yourself. And Amazon has literally everything that exists, except for some illicit items, which you can find on the dark web. But we'll talk about that later, maybe. But first, I'm going to bring in my associates who have braved this GOP storm that we jumped out of at the last second because we could not handle the constant pelting with neocon blabbery. But we are here with, first of all, to my left, as usual, resident Rand expert who had no Rand analysis to conduct tonight, Mr. Brian McWilliams.
Hello. By the way, there's a way people can donate directly, and it's just if you come to Los Angeles, just go around, yell, hey, Brian McWilliams, and eventually you're going to find me. Just hand me like $20.
Yeah, or just arrange to meet up with us and give us the money. There's a few methods you can use to find us.
I guess, but you'll meet a lot more people if you don't.
You will, and you'll find out who hates you in this town, and
everybody.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't recommend that method, but you can just give us money. I ain't going to stop you. Send me a letter. Send me a carrier pigeon. Just buy us some drinks. Many methods. But Amazon is the preferred method for now. My preferred method of watching GOP debates has been one that includes Rand Paul, but this week that's no longer the case. We'll get to that in a minute, or maybe we won't since he wasn't there. But I've got a couple other Liberty compatriots with us today. And first of all, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's just tell everybody, of course, we need a few adult beverages to get through a GOP debate. I am sipping on a nice, delicious, hard apple cider strongbow over here. And Brian is like tripled. He's got a soda water. What else you got over here?
Triple fisting. It's like I got some strongbow. I got some Crown Royal Rye, which won Whiskey of the Year. I don't usually drink Crown Royal like Ted Cruz, that Canadian. But that's what I'm drinking tonight.
All right, and we're going to go ahead and bring in our legal counsel, Mr. Rico from Cleveland, Ohio.
What's up, friends?
Things are good. That was the nicest introduction you've ever had.
I was just thinking that. So. The absolute nicest. I was like, what's he going to call us tonight?
I wanted to throw a curveball, so that was it.
Curveball thrown. And what are you sipping on over there in the Cleves?
I am drinking my moonshine again because I had some from before, and I haven't drank it in a while. So what better time to break it out than right now?
The moonshine that you brewed, was it over Christmas or?
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago, probably. It's still good. It's still got all the Everclear and rum in it, so it does the trick.
All right, and who else do we have? Let me see here. Let me just spin the wheel of liberty. And we landed on Mr. J.B. Lubin, who I believe is still residing in the city of Philadelphia.
Hello. And yes, I am.
All right, good.
City of Liberty. The first city of liberty, might I add.
All right.
Philadelphia.
And that's why we have you on. It's certainly not because of your stunning personality.
No, certainly not.
It just sounds better if we have someone from where the Liberty Bell is,
By the way,
broadcasting live from the Liberty Bell.
Can I raise a toast real quick? This is the week we lost David Bowie.
We lost a lot.
And Alan Rickman.
Lemmy from Motorhead.
Yeah, Lemmy. But David Bowie, I'm Afraid of Americans, very apropos when you watch this debate.
And you watch this debate, you are afraid of at least a portion of Americans. Not just the guys on stage, but a lot of the people in the audience enthusiastically cheering on some of their statements.
Was this the most ironic part of the debate where Chris Christie was talking about how the world is less peaceful now that there's less democracies? So to combat that, we need to start bombing people.
It's interesting because the biggest democracy in the world, I guess, I don't know, depending on how you define biggest, but most powerful is the United States. And the United States seems to have been one of the biggest military aggressors of the last century. So,
He apparently doesn't get that point. Is the world's not more peaceful because of democracy when we're bombing everyone, but hey,
I mean,
Chris Christie does what he does.
like, compared to, say, I don't know, utter tyranny like in North Korea, democracy might be a little better. But, just having a country that chooses its leaders through voting does not automatically, land you in some peaceful utopia, as I think we can all look around the world and see plainly with our own eyes. But, Chris Christie lives in a lot of fantasy worlds in his own mind. He lives in a world where he's a staunch pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment defender, and yet, because he touted his... myself and John Odermatt, he's been the 2A watch, the Second Amendment expert on Lions of Liberty, and he's been following Chris Christie since before he even announced for president, because he has a very pretty anti-gun past, at least a pro-gun control. He's in New Jersey, and he always uses that excuse, well, I'm from New Jersey, you got to work with these people, blah, blah, blah. But it's become very clear now. He did have a good year of pardoning people that had gun convictions. A lot of people that came out of state. He commuted the sentence of Brian Aiken, former guest on the show. He's done a lot of pro-gun stuff that was out in the public eye recently. But our theory, me and Odie, and probably anybody really paying attention to how politics works, is that this is all smoke and mirrors. He's done a couple pardons that are great for those people, but if he really wanted to pardon people, he would really attempt to change the laws in his state that are winding these innocent people being arrested and in prison, but he's not really pushing to do that. He's just pardoning a few of them.
He's a governor. He gets things done, unlike senators. That's all he says every time.
He says that in every debate. He's like, when you guys are senators, you goes up there and you talk and you talk and you talks, but I'm a governor and a prosecutor and I get things done, and I know that's not how he sounds at all, but...
9/11.
Rocky there.
I'm kind of like channeling Tony Danza a little bit, too.
Yeah, totally Danza.
Hey, Jonathan, what are you up there in the Senate talking all does? Where's Angela's?
Right. And of course he has to mention that he was a prosecutor, which we you guys jumped off. I was listening in the car on the way over here, but I did nail it with our drinking game rules. Chris Christie did mention that he was a prosecutor once again.
I believe the actual rules said Chris Christie mentioning that he was a prosecutor of 9/11 terrorists.
Yeah,
he didn't quite say it. He said I was a prosecutor and then mentioned 9/11 3 seconds later.
Right.
But I think it was close enough. I drank.
Yeah,
close enough for us, yeah.
Yeah, close enough for us is open your mouth and we all drink, let's be honest. But so where do we even start here? Let's play a little game. Let's play a little game called Who's the Biggest Neocon? Ooh. And why don't we go around and try to rank these guys from most neocon-y to least. And I have no idea. I haven't thought through the game any further than that, so I'm not sure how we're going to do this. But why don't we just start with JB? I feel like it's been the longest since you've been on. So who do you think was the number one most neocon-y? And just to provide a definition, I guess, to our audience, I'm going to, for the purposes of this discussion, define most neocon-y as most wanting to bomb the shit out of people all over the globe. So JB, who strikes you as the most neocon-y in that context?
I'm drinking single malt Scotch whiskey. By the way, in case anyone was wondering. Glenfiddich 14, very tasty. But to answer your question,
thanks for keeping me in check. I'm getting really bad with the drink enunciation.
Oh, it's no problem. I just want to, I always want to big up the Scotch. I have very strong feelings about it.
Yeah, we're pushing for that sponsorship.
Exactly. I have to go with Marco Rubio.
Rubio, okay.
If you would have asked me 3 months ago, I would have thought myself insane to say he would be the most neocon out of that group. But he's like chicken hawk number one all of a sudden. Everything that comes out of his mouth seems super aggressive nowadays. I don't know if this is a new tactic that his team is trying out or something. Maybe he thinks it's going to help him in the polls. But he certainly comes off as the most... war hawkish of all the people up there. And it seems to have happened in a matter of months to me personally. I don't know if you guys agree or we're paying more closer attention to him, but that's how I see it. Whenever
Marco Rubio speaks, all I hear is, I'm here. Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, he speaks like a guy who nearly needs a wedgie.
He sounds like a 17-year-old whiny brat.
Yeah. But I do agree with you, JB. I was going to list Marco as my top one, too. I agree. For some reason, he's come out hard now. It's like, our military is not big enough. We got to build it up. We got to go to war. We got to bomb. We got to do... And he talks just like that, too. It's
like a micro machine man. Mark. Oh, my God. I can't even say that. The Marco Machine Man.
The Marco Machine.
That's his new name, and you got a new Photoshop to make. Boom.
That's awful. Marco Machine. Seriously. But all tonight, it was like, Marco Machines. It's like, geez.
Bomb him now.
Take a breath.
Bomb him now.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about because he just talks too fast.
All right, well, that's two for Marco. What did you think, Rico? Did Marco strike you as the most neocon tonight?
it's hard to say, but just as far as Marco Rubio on kind of a tangent, doesn't he seem like a little kid whose mom dressed him up in a suit for a picture?
Like he's got to go to his cousin's bar mitzvah, and he's
his mom,
we're not even Jewish.
Licks her fingers and puts his hair behind his ears.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's just, I don't know. That's the impression
Marco, come here. Come here. Oh, you got this one hair sticking out. Oh, let me get that for you.
In the wintertime,
it's looks that do it, I swear. He looks like a child compared to everyone else up
He
there.
really does.
Yeah.
And he acts like a little kid. But I don't know. I think I was, before JB answered, I was going to go Cruz probably. But I also was kind of zoning out most of the debate because I've heard all of them talk a million times, and it's all
This
the same.
really felt like not a greatest hits, like a worst hits of the last 5 GOP debates, minus the Rand Paul part, which is usually the only part that's... I mean, sometimes Trump is entertaining. I'm getting a kick out of Carson because he's just totally gone off the rails. He was always off the rails, but he's like pushing himself
completely
further away
insane
from
tonight. We can come back to that. He was insane tonight.
We will. I don't know if he counts as a neocon. He more just counts as I don't know. We need a new word for what Ben Carson is.
Was he advocating bombing people? Like, if ISIS puts them in a truck, oh well, they shouldn't have been in there. Like, what?
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly. And he's like, well, what if there's innocents on the tankers? He's like, oh well, kill them, whatever. They shouldn't be in the tankers. It's like, holy shit. What are you talking about, Ben? It wasn't just that, too. He said something else after that. I made a note of it. I could bring him up. But, yeah, he's gone completely, off, as you said, off the rails. It's just insane. He doesn't care anymore. He's lost all his staff.
I've got a dark horse candidate for the neocon discussion. It's not who I would choose as my number one, but a guy who has kind of seemed softish, as Donald Trump has kind of implied. He's sort of a wuss, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what Trump has said, and he checks his facts, so he knows. But Jeb Bush sounded pretty neocon-y this evening. Maybe it's because he's not doing so well in the polls. Heck, he's polling lower than Rand Paul in Iowa, who's not even allowed in this debate, which we should probably talk about at some point a little bit. Which I will. I actually have a beef with Rand Paul today, but we'll get to that if there's time, and I'll make time because I'm the host of the show. So, ayo. But Jeb was out there talking about no-fly zones in Syria, arming Sunnis, arming Kurds. He wants to. I mean, I have seen no difference between Jeb and Hillary Clinton at all, foreign policy-wise. And I'm not saying he's worse than the other guys, but I think compared to the other debates, he has seemed just a little bit less of bombastic, and he didn't really sound bombastic in the way he comes across, but if you actually look at the things he was saying tonight, seems pretty neocon-y, and maybe it's just, we're getting towards Iowa. It seems like Cruz and Rubio, they make these bombastic statements like Cruz talked about, seeing if the sand will glow in the dark in the Middle East, so maybe he's thinking, well, maybe the way for me to get ahead is just to up the neocon ante a bit.
Well, how many times tonight did he say that we need to increase the size of the military? What are the guesses? I say at least 3.
At all opportunities, essentially.
And then there was dead silence.
The man wants more ships.
This being not that entertaining. The beginning of this debate was pretty damn entertaining. I mean, I tweeted out, I want to see Ted Cruz and Donald Trump in the new Odd Couple, because when they were going at it early on, it was hilarious.
Oh, I was cracking up.
It was really funny.
Donald Trump could be a stand-up with just like his, I don't know, whatever is going back and forth with these people. He's highly entertaining.
Yeah. They had zingers. Both of them had zingers. Ted Cruz did, too. He's a master debater, as we know.
And his facial expressions, Trump's, were just like,
every time they come to a single shot of him, like in the beginning of the debate when they're introducing everyone, his I don't know how he gets his mouth like that. It's like droopy dog, like his chin is drooping down, and it's like not even a frown. It's like a full circle that goes around his chin. It's amazing. But that face seems to get droopier and droopier every time, and it's like it's so purposeful too. He's like, yeah, here I am. What you gonna do about it? I'm winning. Eat it.
It really looks like he's enjoying himself up there.
He's absolutely having a blast.
He loves it.
And I think that's part of the appeal. Again, it's like, I mean, he's not on my. He might be the last on the list of the most neocon-y sounding guys tonight. I mean, he sounds like ridiculous when he's talking about economic war with China and stuff like that. And maybe he sounds pretty strong with refugees and immigration, but he doesn't sound like he wants to go around bombing everyone, at least. And that's more than I can say for pretty much everyone else on stage. Is Donald Trump the number 7 of the least neocon-y? And if anyone thinks otherwise,
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I'd have to agree too. Well, Kasich doesn't really go off the deep end so much with the whole killing people thing.
He doesn't get to talk, though, so,
Fair enough.
Who knows what he really thinks?
He's gotten closer to the neocon line, though, as the debates have gone on. In the beginning, he was coming out, and he was kind of like the anti-establishment candidate along with Rand. I remember the first debate, he was like, pro-gay marriage, and he had some different tenets. I was like, oh, wow, this Kasich guy, he's not so bad. But then as he's dropped in the polls, he's kind of gone more towards the neocon side of things.
He comes across as, my advisors told me I have to sound a little meaner. So I'm going to blandly try to do that.
He was trying so hard to talk tough.
We got to Saudi Arabia's our allies. We got to send them money, but we got to tell them, knock it off with that jihad, you kids.
Well, it's funny when he's like, I'll tell you, when I'm president, I'll tell you that I'm going to do this. He's like, I'll ask you. It was like he's such a nice guy under it. He's trying so hard.
We got to go about it the right way. I will host a cordial meeting. We will have a couple of strongbows.
Yeah, it's can you imagine him in the bedroom? He'd be like, yeah, you like that. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do to you. If that's okay. But you ask me to kiss you, then I'm going to kiss you.
Never imagined John Kasich in the bedroom.
Well, you're welcome. I'm not going to Photoshop that.
This is the kind of liberty analysis you can only get here at Lions of Liberty, folks.
Hardcore liberty analysis.
I think Ben Carson
our fans
has
are the fucking
problem.
best because they sit through this and keep coming back. So I love you all.
What is that, JB?
I think Ben Carson has that same exact problem. He's talking about bombing the fuck out of people in the voice of a new age spiritual healer. It's so monotone and relaxing. I feel like I should be meditating when he's talking.
He should be running a cult because he could convince people in that nice calm voice to murder people. You're like Manson style. Children,
yeah,
we need to
exactly
just murder everyone and it'll be all right. Yeah.
So Carson seems to he just wanted to talk about every war that could ever happen. He's like, we got real wars, we got wars of all kinds, income wars, gender wars,
flame wars,
age wars,
in the YouTube comment section,
flame wars.
Yeah, what was that?
Wait, did he actually mention flame wars?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I thought that was a joke.
He was literally go ahead, Reed.
He was like, that's not based on our Judeo-Christian values. Like, oh, okay, the Muslims brought in the negative comments on YouTube.
Yeah. He went on for 3 minutes about it. He was like, we got to stop. You can't go online without anybody saying mean things in the comments. I was like, this is a presidential debate.
He's
what are you
clearly been
about?
really burned. He's been on every Facebook group, just crying in all the comments.
Well, every one of his advisors has left him, so maybe he's fishing online, and people are like, you're a jerk. You look like a nerd, Ben, and he just quietly cries.
He Googles Ben Carson.
He replies, I do have energy. I do. I swear to God.
He's gonna post he's gonna post Chocolate Rain starring Ben Carson.
Oh my God. Ben Carson.
It'll be even slower. Chocolate Rain.
So fun, Ben.
So I don't even know if we can classify Ben Carson on the neocon scale or not because he's so off the rails. It's like he's on another planet. I feel like it's not giving him enough credit to just call him a measly neocon. He's like an interplanetary. What did you call him, JB? He's like a
new age spiritual.
Yeah,
healer?
Exactly. He's like an interplanetary being sent here to bring us confusion and awe in our presidential cycle. It's making me like him more, though. I mean, God, it's just. I don't know. I don't like any of these guys really at all, but at least Carson and Trump, in their own special way, do come across as not just, reading off this neocon script, at least. Even if Carson says, I don't know who wrote his script. Not
nobody.
Me.
Not a
me.
person. Yeah.
Morphine before the debates wrote his script.
The Greys that came to visit him in the middle of the night.
The probes.
I can imagine Ben Carson sitting at the hotel bar, talking to the bartender, having a glass of scotch. He's like, what do you think I should say tonight?
He's like, well, YouTube pisses me off. Where did this debate take place, by the way? Was it North Carolina or South Carolina?
South.
Charleston.
Because at some point, Bartramona or Maria Bartolola, whatever.
Yeah, we don't need to get
she
the
was like, we're going to be back from South Carolina. And I was like, oh, okay. She doesn't
North Charleston.
How about when she was getting all uppity because Ted Cruz was like, yeah, well, people have that New York attitude, and people from New York, they're not conservative. No, but nothing good comes from New York. She's like, well, I'm from New York. What's this New York attitude about? And he's like, yeah, you wouldn't know because you're from New York.
that was pretty funny.
And then Donald Trump's like, well, New York had 9/11, and we rebuilt, and I was there, and that is a very terrible thing to say, Ted Cruz.
And that's where Chris Christie got fully erect behind the podium, by the way.
That was the most, like, calm moment of Donald Trump's campaign, though. He got, like, super somber and, like, went into, like, he did, like, the non-neocon version of using the 9/11 thing. Like, he didn't go into, I got the terrorists after 9/11 like Chris Christie would. He just did, like, the whole, we rebuilt that city. How dare you talk about the people of New York like that? How dare you, Ted Cruz? It was very, very, very offensive.
How many people talk like Tony Danza?
Wait, what?
Everybody that Mark does an impression of talks like Tony Danza.
That's my new default. Even my Alex Jones is now Tony Danza. Angelo, get the fluoride out of the water.
With
Sorry,
Trump
JB.
There. He got a room full of South Carolinians to applaud for New York. That stands for something. He might have presidential material after I saw that.
He may indeed be a true leader.
Well, anything for support your troops will get applause there, so it's kind of tied.
You pull those 9/11 heartstrings, and you kind of feel like I applauded a little from the couch. I was like, all right, you got me. Don't want to be the a-hole sitting on my hands during the 9/11 feel-good moment now, do I?
Yeah, speaking of 9/11, let's just transition to Chris Christie. Can the guy ever just talk without going into this, like, aggressive diatribe that ends with him staring into the camera and going, when I'm president, I'm going to kick some ass.
See,
like he said, like, I'm going to kick, Obama, we're going to kick your butt out of the White House. Never mind, his term's over.
That's worse than my impression. That's my...
Well, I was talking like a professional wrestler, so I'm doing like a blustery impression.
Oh, don't talk about professional wrestling to us.
Well, then you do a better impression of Chris Christie as a professional wrestler.
Well,
That's what I thought.
I don't know where to go with that, but anywho.
But seriously, can the guy just talk like a human being for once? Just one time? Just have a nice calm, here are my points of view instead of this blustery bullshit, and then it turns into this, like, this aggressive crap where it's point.
You know what I was sick of hearing about tonight that we heard about from Chris Christie is this Iran, the sailors, capturing the sailors thing.
Was a non-issue.
I mean, come on. Come on.
Nope, we need to go to war.
I mean, really. He's like, yeah, they're out there saying this was such a great thing because they were released. It shows we have better relations. I'm like, yeah, they were released in like 24 hours. That is actually a good thing, Chris Christie. That's not a bad thing. What would be better if they were held longer? Like, come on. They went into Iranian territory, perhaps by accident. If an Iranian ship came into U.S. territory off the coast of California, we would have those mother effers in Guantanamo strung up by their balls, okay? And Chris Christie would be cheering it on. He'd be like, yeah, I told you we got to get the terrorists if they come near our waters. Angela.
Guantanamo Bay.
He is such
Tony
a ridiculous...
Danza in a one-person show. It's Alliance of Liberty podcast.
Get him on. He'll come on.
And Donald Trump on Facebook. Yes, I follow Donald Trump on Facebook because I like to go on there and troll people sometimes. But he posted these photos of the sailors with their hands behind their back, and the sailors are like sitting with their shoes off, like eating bowls of curry. Like he's like, this is an outrage. We need to, the president did not even mention them in the State of the Union. I'm like, yeah, because it's a freaking non-issue. They went into waters. They were taken just like like anybody would be if they went to U.S. waters, and they were released. And once they sorted it out in less than like a day. I mean, what is there to talk about here? They were not abused. They were not tortured. Yeah, they had their hands up in the air when they were first captured, and Iran posted pictures about it on their Instagram. Who cares? And they fed them curry. Oh my God, they made them take their shoes off on the floor. Stop it. Come on.
Curry is pretty bad.
And the food looked pretty good.
Do that when we go to the airport. We don't even get any curry.
These guys got chicken tikka masala, okay? I don't feel bad for them. It's not that bad. This is not an international incident that
I had
matters.
that for lunch today.
Who was the one that was talking about Iran having a nuclear bomb, but for the wrong reasons?
What are the right reasons?
What are the right reasons?
Tender love and care.
They don't want a nuclear bomb for this reason. They want it because their religion tells them they need to bomb everyone or something with it. And I was like, what? But if no one remembers, it doesn't really.
You know what? If Muhammad had said, "Hey, get a nuclear bomb," and it's in the Torah, I'm switching religions because that guy knows what's up.
He was clairvoyant. He was like Nostradamus, I guess.
Yeah, precisely.
I don't know.
All right, we're Santorum-esque religious scholars.
I hope Mark doesn't edit too much. So he has Rico going, huh?
I wasn't going to edit this at all until you mentioned editing. Now I got to edit out the editing mentioning, or people are going to think, wait, they edited this?
Our new segue for between any topic should be, huh?
Speaking of Santorum, and this will probably be the only time we bring him up, Did anyone else watch the kitty debate at all?
No, you are our kitty debate correspondent.
Okay.
Give me your 30-second review.
Okay,
10
well,
seconds per candidate.
obviously it was a neocon love fest, but one of Santorum's highlights was talking about exporting Mexicans and Guatemalans to make their countries great again.
As an export, like we got money back for it. Like,
It's like
Exporting?
yeah, export. Like
what are we importing in exchange?
less people apparently.
Bolivians?
Yeah, so they're going to export Mexicans and Guatemalans to make those countries great again. It's like he was like basically like, well, what are they doing here if they're so great? Well, why don't they go back to their own?
Was he wearing a hat that said "Make Guatemala Great Again"?
It basically just
Well, it would have been in Spanish.
yeah, he was just taking Trump, but in a total bastardized, terrible, even more terrible way about the immigrants. It was
Reverse
amazing.
Trump. He's like the reverse Flash. He's reverse Trump.
Was he
Yeah.
was he talking about tariffing them too? You know, it's like they have to leave a finger behind.
Oh yeah, what about Trump and his whole "I'm a free market guy. I'm totally for the free trade and the free markets. We got to tariff the shit out of these guys."
No. Does he not understand those statements are completely contrary to each other in every way?
I would like to know, like, aren't we better off in some ways when, if so, China is, manipulating their currency, and if we're getting these products on pennies on the dollar, doesn't that make the consumers better off?
Sounds like a good deal. Yeah.
Don't we
I
have
want some
more
pennies
money
on
to
the
spend
dollar.
elsewhere then?
Well, because
I mean,
Donald Trump is a classic American protectionist. He wants to, quote unquote, bring the jobs back and, block trade from other countries, and so that we have to make stuff so it becomes cheaper to make stuff here. Eliminate all the barriers. I want to eliminate barriers to American companies making products that are cheaper too. But he goes about it in more a protectionist way than purely a free market way. So
I mean, I've never been in the market for a Chinese tractor, but if I can get one for $10,
yeah, I mean, as far as I know, John Deere still makes better tractors than China. Like people, I mean, I don't know. Maybe China does make tractors.
They were Japanese. Just to fact check you.
they were. Sorry.
Check your facts.
You just called the Muslim holy book the Torah, so I don't think you should be fact checking.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wait, did that happen? We all
Yeah, I
missed
did.
Wow,
I did call it the Torah.
I'm a Jew and I let that pass.
Fatwa and McWilliams.
I've had a lot of fatwas in my bed.
I think we should all get an intellectual pass after sitting through 2.5+ hours.
And I was drinking the whole damn time, by the way.
Well, then that should make you smarter, I thought.
Well, it usually does, but apparently not tonight. The Quran. Okay, the Quran.
All right, so what else do we have to hit on here? Why don't we talk about... do we want to talk about Rand Paul for a second, or do we want to still talk about these guys? Because I didn't see his thing. You know why? Because it was on freaking Periscope. He did his whole... his rally, and now we can also talk about the fact that Rand Paul wasn't in this debate for a minute, which I think all of us felt because you don't realize we criticize Rand Paul a lot. We praise him sometimes too. We praise him a good amount, but you don't realize till someone's gone sometimes just how much you miss him.
Bowie and Rickman,
because it really stands out the stark contrast between everything we heard tonight and what we just didn't hear, which is at least the counter from Rand Paul of pointing out, hey, this guy wants to have a no-fly zone. Do you realize what that means? That means shooting down Russian planes, which means World War III, which means nuclear weapons and all of that terrible stuff. There's just no sane voice up there tonight. I mean... Yeah. Trump sounds least bad to me on foreign policy when it comes to the military stuff, which is amazing because that's the guy everyone seems to hate the most. And I get the reasons people, vitriolically hate Trump, but I will say this and I'll continue to say this. I think the Trump hate goes over the top in comparison to the policies of everybody else.
Well, people react to his personality, I think, for the Trump hate more than anything. But, I mean, it is, you do miss Rand Paul because you're right. Trump has pretty good foreign policy views in general. But, when he gets into the economics, that's where you'd see Rand Paul as well, step up and say, what you're saying is ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. Here's why, X, Y, Z.
And that would have been a perfect spot for Rand Paul to jump in and say, well, actually, if you listen to what Donald just said here, it completely makes no sense.
Right.
Although he would have said it, well, the interesting thing is, and then he would start a sentence, because that's what he does with every sentence. Watching that Trevor Noah thing on The Daily Show, he said it like 17 times.
Yeah,
well, the interesting thing is, Trevor, is...
How is everything interesting, Rand?
It can't all be interesting. Some of it's kind of mild and bland, let's be honest.
Wait, so who is really more anti-Muslim? Not that I approve of Trump's no Muslim immigration policy, which is ridiculous. But I think that's better than all the other people talking about bombing everyone in the Middle East. I mean, isn't that more kind of racist?
That's an interesting question.
It's
Go,
more
Jimmy.
harmful, certainly. I don't know if it's more racist.
What do you mean? What's more, the
I'd
bombing or
rather
the
be
immigration
banned
restriction?
than killed.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
If I got those two options on a checklist, I would pick ban.
What will you take today? Death or banning? I'll just stay where I am. alive.
It's like Mad Max Thunderdome when they spin the big wheel, and it's like you can be death. You put on a donkey and send the desert. Like, give me the donkey in the desert, man.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
So everyone else is like, let's go kill everybody out there. And Trump's like, just don't let him in.
Right.
Just don't open the door. I mean, I think both of those views are simplistic, but if you're going to take a simplistic view, I'll take the guy that just wants to, like, not let people in instead of, sending robots around the world to destroy them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to give a little bit of credit here. Not credit, but even though Jeb's a warmonger, he wants to expand the military. Which I love. How he's like, we got to expand the military, but we don't want to police the world. It's like, well, but anyway. But Jeb did say that banning all the Muslims was a crazy thing, and he brought up good points about what if they're from India, what if they're from all these other countries that have Muslims.
No, wait a minute. His question is like, are we going to ban Muslims from entering Indonesia? It's like,
No, he was saying Muslims from Indonesia.
no, that's not what he said. He said, are we going to ban Muslims to go to Indonesia?
Who can say in Indonesia now?
Well, I don't know. I didn't hear that part. I heard him saying, but from
no, you're not the president of Indonesia, so I don't think you have control over their policies.
Do
But
they even have a president? Isn't it like a stick? Just makes decisions. They just spin the wheel on the
I
stick.
don't know. If you show up with $20, you're their king for a day.
That'd
Apparently.
probably be a better way to do it. We should just have a stick. You spin the wheel.
All right. Do we have anything more to say about these guys? I tried to bring Rand Paul up, and then we got sidetracked. And I
Well,
don't know.
Teddy, let's
I'm willing to talk about these guys more. Don't
What
get me
about
wrong.
Teddy? What about Teddy C? What do we think about Teddy C tonight?
God, I don't like him at all. He's too damn smooth. He looks like, as we discussed on the last show, he looks like they turned Fonzie into a Lego character. And, he's too damn slick for my taste.
What are the chances that he just forgot to put something on a form? Like, I don't know anything about this whole controversy, but he's like, it was just a clerical mistake. We just forgot
With
to
the-
put
the Goldman
$1
Sachs thing?
loan. Yeah. I was like, well, really?
I mean,
Really?
see, they're saying they took out a loan, and I don't know. That makes it sound like they're like a couple, like young budding homeowners who are like struggling in life.
He
and
said he put the his house as collateral, I think, against the loan to run for Senate, which
I mean, if that's true,
seems a little odd because
never heard of that before.
I don't think a Senate pays that much, to put a mortgage against your home on, unless you're.
Well, I mean, he's been a
making money
prosecutor and
from
making money
a lot of
probably
other
years
ways.
before that.
Maybe he's giving speeches like Hillary,
Or they're making
or making deals like Hillary.
Yeah, getting bribes from lobbyists like they all probably do. But it was just kind of an odd.
Well, what about when Ted Cruz was going after Christie, which was good, about gun control and if you're really going to support something, you got to be there all the time and not just talk about it. I believe that's what it was Christie when he was talking about that. And all I'm thinking is, yeah, kind of like when you talked up audit the Fed this whole time, it didn't even show up for the vote.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
he was busy.
He was busy. I know. He had a campaign in New Hampshire.
Well, what do you think about what he, talking about the legalization issue with his whole Canadian status or not, whether he's a citizen? I was kind of impressed with, how he schooled Trump on the whole constitutional issue and blah, 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 and went into it. I don't know,
Well,
Rico, you're the legal scholar here. I mean,
Yeah, you tell us.
It wasn't that impressive because Trump's just talking out of his ass. So he's like, you're talking out of your ass. And then he's, well, Trump's like, many lawyers. It's like, well, a lawyer can argue anything. There's 5
I know.
million,
We have one on all the time to do just that.
There's 5 million lawyers in the country, and, you can find anyone to say anything.
That's like a percentage of the population. That's amazing.
I don't know. I just made up that number.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure it's even more than that.
yeah.
So his whole point, many lawyers have said that it's a ridiculous argument, or his argument that
That's like saying experts say. I mean, yeah, anybody can be an expert on anything and say anything. It means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's position is ridiculous, and then he tried to, add to it by saying, well, the Democrats will sue over it. Well, anyone can file a lawsuit. That doesn't mean it has any merit. So
yeah, true.
His whole trying to school Ted Cruz about it was ridiculous. And then the last thing I thought when he was talking about, Lawrence Tribe is a constitutional lawyer. Well, you know who else was a constitutional scholar was Obama. And
what happened?
That would have been a smart response from Cruz. That's what Cruz should have said if he was really slick.
Yeah. Which, by the way, talking about many Trump is like, many lawyers. He loves to do that. It's like in another comment when he was talking about his tariffs thing and the economy, he goes, many businessmen support me. And it's like...
many of my Muslim friends.
He likes to say many people support him.
He's only talking... You know why? Because it's one of those things that it's like the big, bold statement you can say that can easily not be backed up by any facts, and no one can really say it's not true. Like, you can't, disprove that he has Muslim friends that said they agree with him. You can't disprove that.
Americans hear that, or the dumber part of America, they hear that, they go, many business people support him, they say. Many Muslims have to like a 1920s newsman. That's just it. Stop the press.
Yeah, sorry.
Business folks,
many Muslims like his plan.
I heard Mr. Rockefeller supports Mr. Trump. Mr. Rockefeller sure did make a lot of money in that stock market, so he must know what he's talking about.
I want to hear JB get on this impression. Come on, JB.
I cannot do a 1920s
Yes, you
accent.
can, JB.
You could be the newsboy delivering us the news.
First.
Extra.
In those days,
Mr. Rockefeller supports Mr. Trump. Businessmen around.
It's extra.
Well, see, that's why I'm normally not the newsboy in our role playing. Oh boy.
So what about every candidate's go to was, I'm going to be the one who's going to beat Hillary Clinton, as their
I really hope that Bernie Sanders wins the first two primaries, so then they have to all start. You can't say that anymore. I'm so sick of hearing. And this is not new, by the way. This has been happening this is the third election cycle in a row you've had to hear, I'm going to be the one to beat Hillary. Or I guess the second one wouldn't have been because that was against Obama. But 8 years ago you heard this constantly, and now you're hearing it again constantly. And I don't know, maybe you should learn a lesson from 2008 and stop presuming. Because Bernie's polls are picking up. We've talked about Bernie ad nauseum. I think a lot of us have major disagreements with him, obviously. But, as a sideline spectator, hell yeah, I want to see Bernie beat Hillary. Absolutely. That would be fantastic.
Certainly make things interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, a little bit different talking points they have to address, different topics. Okay, now you have to respond to Bernie Sanders' plans on this, and this, where Hillary overlaps with the neocons in so many places. You could say you have to beat her, but you also have to defeat her points because they're the same as yours.
And Kasich seemed to laugh it off. He was like, if Bernie wins, that'll be easy. But
I know. He's like, I know Bernie. He won't run. He won't win.
Bernie has better numbers than Kasich. Yeah, what was he laughing about?
Who is Mr. 4% Kasich to talk down to Bernie? Come on.
Bernie had to be watching that if he was watching it. It was like, who the hell are you?
Maybe Bernie's his barber. That's why he gets his horrible haircuts from.
It's like, I heard you talking shit about me last night.
Bernie's like, Kasich, I cut your hair, you human piece of garbage.
Oh, man. I do remember when you balanced that budget, though. Thank you for reminding me 17 times in the debate last night. That was fantastic. Yeah, did you guys know that John Kasich balanced the budget once? Have you ever heard of that? Because, he likes to.
I may have heard it once or twice.
You need someone that can get in there and just balance it. You gotta get the two sides of the scale, put some on one side, put some on the other side until it all balances out. Yeah, Kasich 16.
So, I think on the next recap, can we find
is there a next one? I don't know. I'm so drained.
I don't know.
The good thing is I have way more fun doing the show than watching the debate. So
actually, I felt like
the next debate after Iowa.
So here's as one certain libertarian leading presidential candidate might say, the interesting thing is that the next Republican debate is right before Iowa, and it is on January 28th in Iowa, in the Iowa Event Center in Des Moines. Now, Rand Paul claims to have over 1,000 precinct captains in Iowa, which is more than anybody else has claimed to have, and they would claim to have more if they did have more. His super PAC has claimed that they've identified 33,000 Rand Paul supporters, far more than he would need to win the caucus. I'm not saying these things are true. I'm just saying these are what people are saying. So, what if? Brian, you said it was a good thing that Rand Paul didn't do the undercard debate when they took him out of the main debate, and I was at first not so certain because, hey, at least he'd be on TV. There's
Not
millions of
just
people
you,
watching.
all of everybody on our libertarian email chain, they said, you're a fool. They threw stones and
Howie
they
agreed
poked
with
me
you.
with sticks.
But
Howie did.
we don't take him seriously. So.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agreed too. I didn't post, but
JB silently-
thanks for your silent
JB was
support.
sitting at
JB.
home.
I'll be honest. I was on your side.
JB
You're like everybody that didn't vote for Ron Paul. They're like, I really liked him, but I didn't vote. You're that guy.
JB was sipping a scotch and just silently nodding.
Exactly.
I agree with you, but I will not tell anyone.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I said it immediately after it happened. I said this is the best thing he could have done because he's going to get a massive amount of media attention. The undercard debate's not going to garner that much attention anyway. Now it's played out. The favorites are the favorites. The people aren't going to jump up like they could before because everybody knows what Rand Paul is. They know what his demeanor is. It's not like a Chris Christie who can fearmonger his way up. So, yeah, I was like, this is going to get him so much more attention. He's going to be able to talk about his platforms without anybody cutting him off or, picking and choosing what topics he can discuss. So it's a perfect opportunity. And blammo, whammy, he's on The Daily Show. He's on Dr. Oz. He's on CNN.
He was on Dr. Oz, too.
He was on Dr. Oz,
Wow.
yeah.
He was on
he
The View.
And they calculated it. This recent article that actually Mark found recently.
Yeah, I find articles sometimes.
They tabulated as of before the debate leading into it. He had already had 7 million media impressions, whereas the undercard debate is pegged at 4.7, which I think is probably even too high.
So if he just kept his mouth shut and went to the undercard debate, he'd probably have like 4 million people seeing him, but instead he got more, like 3 million more because of all the various media appearances resulting because people were interested in this story. Like, oh, this guy's not going? Yeah. Like, he's in a polling above all the undercard guys. Why doesn't he want to be on TV? So and you see a lot of, he was all over MSNBC, like the networks that are supposed to be opposed to Fox News, which is interesting because Rand Paul's the Republican. Isn't Fox News supposed to be nice to him? And yet they're the ones excluding him from this debate, which you really, there's no way you can justify it to me. I mean, if you're going to have tiers, then have some kind of, I mean, you can't base these, who's in these debates on when people are that close.
They're 1/10%.
And the margin of error is 4 or 5%, and they're within 1/10 of each other. It seems ridiculous. I mean, I'm not even saying exclude the undercard guys. Have them all on there. I mean, whatever. Or make the line a little more clear. But I mean, Rand is polling above Jeb Bush in Iowa. I mean, and that's one of their criteria. And there's a poll that came out on Monday, or didn't come out on Monday. It was done on Monday. For some reason, they didn't release it for 2 days. But if that poll had been calculated, which Fox News said they were going to calculate through Monday, what Rand Paul would have been in the debate. So basically leaving out this one poll, which showed him a solid fifth in Iowa, ahead of Jeb Bush, ahead of Chris Christie, ahead of John Kasich, ahead of 3 people that are in this debate when Iowa is the first state to vote and the first place to have the caucus. I mean, it's inexcusable and ridiculous. Anybody disagree?
How can you? Fox News. Get Fox Business on the line.
That says a lot about the whole democratic process, though, that a news organization is manipulating poll data to decide who's going to be in the debate, who people are going to watch.
Manipulating the data is that they're cherry picking which polls to use and setting sort of arbitrary lines that aren't very clear.
Well, all right, bad choice of words, but they're still picking and choosing what to look at,
right?
In their criteria for who to be in the polls, which is a bunch of bullshit, really. And at first, I didn't agree with the Rand Paul stance, but when I kind of looked at it, what is the point of debating Carly Fiorina, Rick Santorum? I wanted to bang my head against the wall watching them talk. So I just think it's like your perception goes down by association with those people.
Exactly right. It's that perception. You say, if Rand wants to be a serious candidate, he has to say, no, I'm not on these people's level. I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to go down and debate them. It's a waste of my time.
Let's think about this. Do you think Donald Trump ever would have gone to an undercard debate?
Oh, hell no.
If his polls numbers were like at fifth,
he'll go back to building buildings. Come on.
Well, I'm going to go back to building the buildings. So there, in New York, where everyone is great because 9/11. That's Donald Trump for you. All right, guys. So why don't we're going to wrap things up, but first I want to take a very quick. I like doing this now. A quick prediction. Our next debate is January 28th. Anybody dropping out? Number one, you can answer 2 questions here. Is anybody going to drop out between now and then? 2, will Rand Paul be in the next debate? Rico.
No and no. It's because they're all going to hang on to.
And that is a Fox News debate too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said Iowa is the 29th?
Iowa, I believe, is February 1st, the vote.
Oh, February.
Yeah. But it's,
there's no point in dropping out now. before Iowa. I think after Iowa, you'll probably see Jeb drop out. You'll probably see Fiorina drop out.
I could see one or two dropping out. I know we're on your prediction, and I'm already butting in, but I could see one or two dropping out right before Iowa just to endorse somebody and just to get on someone's good side. You know?
Oh, maybe. Well, what about someone mentioned Bobby Jindal in one of the debates? They're like, oh, I think it was Ted Cruz. He's like, Bobby Jindal wouldn't have been eligible to run for president. I'm like, wait, is he still running for president?
He technically is.
No, he dropped out.
Did he? Okay.
Okay, well, Ted Cruz, get updated facts. Come on. But, yeah, no and no for me.
All right, JB, anybody going to drop out, and will Rand be in the next debate with Fox News?
I would say no and yes.
Ooh,
like
right.
Rico mentioned before, it's way too close to Iowa to give up now. And if anyone who really wants to be president will wait till Iowa's done to officially drop out. But if Rand is really doing as well in Iowa as he claims to be, I feel like it would be impossible to keep him out.
But we won't know that until
to that date.
Or you think the polls will show it?
As we get closer to that date, the polls will be coming in more, and they'll probably be more relevant. And
right.
I just feel like he'll probably get into this next.
And there are going to be a million Iowa polls between now and then because that's where all the focus is going to be. So if there's any legitimacy to what they're saying, you got to think some amount of that is going to be reflected in the polls.
Yeah, some of that should filter through, and he should be able to get in.
All right. So Brian, anybody dropping out? And Rand Paul, yes or no?
Nobody is dropping out. Maybe Santorum.
Oh, he's staying till the convention, man. Santorum's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm going to email Santorum and see if he wants to stay at my house.
Hey, Santorum, do you want the rest of the sandwich? Yeah, he's not trying. No one's dropping out. I think Rand will be in the next debate because I think the media exposure he's gotten is good. I think he's polling well enough in Iowa, and I think he'll make it in.
All right, and I'm going to say, man, it's so boring when I disagree with everybody. I guess I don't think anybody new will drop out. I think Carly doesn't want to be seen as a quitter, so she probably won't drop out, even though she should. Santorum's not going anywhere. I think the undercard guys, the fact that they're still there means they want to stay at least through Iowa for whatever various reasons. They might even. I think some of them may drop out right before Iowa, but this debate is before that. So I think between now and the next debate, no new dropouts. And boy, am I cynical about this, and I'm not at all confident in it, but I am going to go yes, Rand in the debate because I think it's going to be harder to keep him out the more scrutiny there is on this. And God, I can't watch it. I need to think he's going to be in the next debate because how am I going to do another one of these? It truly is painful, and you really do start to miss him when you realize, even for all the reasons we disagree with Rand Paul, my God, he is really the only one that's remotely rational. And it really stands out when he's not there that how much these guys are just blustering and full of crap.
Amen, brother.
Amen. All right. Well, that seems like a good time to wind things down. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me once again. The next time you hear from us, depending on where and when you're listening to this, maybe on YouTube a little early, but otherwise, the next time you're going to hear from us will be next Wednesday when we finally, hopefully, get together to bring you a recap of the Democratic debate, which will already have happened by the time you hear this, unless, of course, you're listening on YouTube. So go to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because sometimes our reaction shows will be released there a little bit early before they're in podcast form. So if you just can't wait to hear our acerbic wit and incredibly detailed analysis that is sometimes sans facts, then, you can go subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well. And until Wednesday, when we bring you some Democratic debate analysis, guys, what do you say? Join me here. Why don't you guys all live long and live